but then that got us like, well, cool, let's just start our own crew then. Cool, well, let's just be Styles crew. Let's just be the B-boys for Styles Upon Styles. So it's me and the Rincon brothers. They're twins. They were both like, star athletes, they're wrestlers, so they were the super popular dudes, the good looking dudes, they had that charisma. And they were big dudes and we still roll around deep. So it worked.
And I need you to clarify for me because I can't remember who told me. It might have been Johnny just in conversation, but he told me that you said that as far as formal practice, you wasn't going to do that no more. If you was just going to practice, like you was just going to bust at the club every week and that was going to be practice / performance / battle / everything. Is that true?
I mean, yes, kid. It's still like that where I always joke around like solstice, dancing up on the house roof. I'm like, yo, that's my stamina workout. That's my, like, I go with, sometimes I'm like, oh, well, I'm about to have a heart attack. This is too much. But well, what if this is the final round? You go in again. So you do use those platforms. It's still, it's still those platforms for that. And you do learn how to perform if you're in the mood. Sometimes you're not in the mood for that. Sometimes you'll find me in a corner by myself and there's a hot cypher right here, but I'm just not in the mood for that. But sometimes when there's like, okay, there's not that many dancers, but we got to keep the circle open. So we got to perform a little bit for the regulars, So, so you, and you learn how to be responsive to the DJ and, even that, like I would literally get into like little battles with the DJs. There's been plenty of times that I've been the last dude at the club, and the DJs, there's not that many people left and they'll throw some fire song and see me get off, and then they'll throw it, and then we just like, and I'm like, oh, okay, you got me on that one. So there's a lot of beautiful things that can happen from these platforms. It's right now, yeah, I would suggest if kids want to break right now, yeah, you have to train differently than we train. But again, our rounds weren't these 2-minute rounds jam packed with 500 moves in them. Our battles were long, but we were throwing out. My longest one-on-one battle was 45 minutes with Hype Rock from AFA. We were like rivals, but we were throwing out, small rounds. So, even a crew battle could last 2 hours. But because you're going flare for flare, headspin for headspin, or, whatever, little combos here and there. So you didn't have to train in that kind because the situations didn't tend for that.
And you had a crew.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, which always made it dope. To be able to vibe like that, so think about how tight we became. Not to say that people aren't tight now, but we became tight. We were getting shot at together. We were getting, multiple times a week. We're going to battles. Like it wasn't. You battled we were battling dozens of times a month. Little battles, big battles, but it was, and there were battles where you didn't know when this person's going to quit or stop or not, and you just got, so, throwing gigantic rounds didn't work back then. Now for the structure in the contest, yeah, you got to have something a little bit more set.
So who was better? Who you think was getting the best of this rivalry?
If you ask my mom, AFA. She always hated on him.
Really?
She'd be like, no, I like them. They do the same. He can spin on his head a long time. He did a backflip and took off his pants. And I'm like, Mom, but they can't dance. No, but that one boy can. I can tell he does a little salsa. But Mom, boy, you see my footwork? Oh, you just rolling around on the floor in a circle, boy. You ain't doing nothing.
Oh man.
No. I mean, it was. We've had these conversations when we talk about the judging system type of thing. It was. Mm-hmm. It was pound for pound. I think it was
any given weekend.
Even. Yeah, because their power is way better than our power. Our footwork was way better than their footwork. You know what I'm saying? So, so what they lacked. So, but again, they were so elevated. Their power game was dope. They were hands down the easiest, the best power heads in Arizona. You know what I mean? We later on. Motor City had really good power heads back then as well. They were all power too, and a couple of their youngsters came with us. Little Adrian back then. Little Adrian, God, this kid was scary, but he at that time he was 7, 8 years old, and he had probably the best power in Arizona. I mean, and he was throwing not easy stuff. He was throwing crazy stuff. He is a kid that we would be at Radiotron, and he'd end up in the corner with Easy Rock and Ivan rocking headspins. So yeah. Wow. But he came from that Motor City camp. Which is a very, very, very old crew.
Right.
So,
And doesn't Chino come from AFA?
Yeah, Chino Robert comes from AFA.
No doubt.
Yeah, and a lot of cats. That's just like, at least in my experience, and I think about like graffiti crews with CMW, like a lot of crews, because like their main dudes always wanted to get down with us, but we just never let them in. So then they finally like, okay, well then we're gonna do our own thing, and now we're mad at you. So, so then
right.
So,
and
but,
then I'm assuming that as you guys move up the chain in the city and in the state, but specifically in the city, you become almost everybody's rival. Because when I first moved here in 2005, that's kind of the sentiment. It's like, that's Furious Styles, and you got to go after them. If you want anything in this city, you got to go after them. And that's kind of how like it was presented to me. And I think every city, no matter how big or small the scene, they have that crew. They're going to have that established crew that is probably the most consistent. They've been together the longest. They understand the battling a little bit more, and they're winning. So then it becomes the city versus them.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely was like that for a long time. That's why when I see like, our Swiss, I'm like, we didn't have to make a shirt. Like, that's just, we would literally be at a jam and it'd be the entire jam on that side and us on this side. And we'd be battling everybody. You know what I mean? But we loved it. We thrived off of it. I mean, it was, so it was dope. Again, minus all the, the unfortunate violence that happens in the 90s. But minus all that, that's what keeps you pushing. That keeps you like, you have to. This is survival at this point. Like, I have to be on top of my game. Like, I have to be, and again, those cats, the AFA cats, they were breeding a lot of kids, and their power game was dope. They had the dopest power for sure.
One thing I always wondered, so you guys kind of adopted the logo of the city. You guys never got in trouble for that?
You're the first person who's ever asked me that. No, and because I used to work for the city of Phoenix.
Okay.
And that's where, so a lot of like, that's where I met like Miracles and Citrus, and you find like these kind of, some of the kids that people are still around right now. I met them working at a teen center. So I used to work for the at-risk youth division for the city of Phoenix. And being downtown, I've somehow discovered a City of Phoenix store. And I had like this belt buckle with the Phoenix bird on it, and I'm like, yo, this stuff is ill. Like, this is super fresh. And then I because I used to, shout outs to my supervisors at Thunderbirds Teen Center back then, because I made a whole lot of flyers coming out of that teen center. So, you know what I mean? So it was probably an easy cut and paste back then. Like, take this logo right here. We just put a little character in the middle of it, and we good. But I do remember asking like, yo, is it? And they were like, well, there's not like a bird police, like, so, but you would think something that obvious that somebody, but that just shows you how much they're not paying attention. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or and again, you're a small local dance crew. They could probably care less at that point, So, but yeah, that was it was because of that, because a lot in the city of Phoenix, there used to be a lot of crews just about in every park and every community center, every teen center had their own crew. So a lot of things were associated with the city of Phoenix.
And may we one day get back to that.
Yeah,
that would be ill if every neighborhood had their own crew, and what I'm saying, like. But anyway, I digress on that, because that'll be a whole nother interview. But
somewhere in there, I have to put in, I'm going to say the more recent anniversaries, right? Because the first couple of decades of the anniversaries were stressful. So now the recent ones where you can cut, but definitely, and I know I took a moment at this last 25th one when we had Z-Trip, and where I have moments that I can stop and look around and just see how freaking happy everybody is.
For more quality content from Beyond the Cypher with Illskillz, don't forget to press the like and subscribe buttons. Let us know how we're doing down in the comment section, and to make sure that you don't miss anything from the channel, smash that notification bell. We appreciate the love and support. Peace until the next episode.